Persona 5 is the newest addition to the Persona series brought to us by Atlus. This already means you should expect a few things. This is a very Japanese game. It draws on Japanese culture quite a bit. It takes place in a high school. There are dating sim and life sim elements that are very similar to something you might see in a visual novel. There is a turn-based combat system in which you probe for your enemy's weaknesses using your character's abilities that they gain from using supernatural entities called personas. And that's just what you'll find in the first 30 or so minutes of the game. There are other reasons to care about this game that involves the use of these mechanics and sets Persona 5 apart from most of the other stuff you'll find out there. Persona 5 doesn't shy away from mature themes, very often treading into dark, psychological themes. Any veteran to the series will understand what I mean, but for those of you that haven't, I can highlight a bit of what you'll see, trying not to full on spoil the game for you. This game deals with things like sexual harassment and abuse, government, workplace corruption, suicide, many other things that most games will not even consider attempting. And they manage to do it in a way that is compelling and at times inspiring. One of the things I think Persona does the best is character. You'll gather a party, meet people along the way, but these people aren't just static one-line delivering automatons. Persona manages to deliver, again and again, characters who go through struggles, change, and grow with you as you move through the story. The story structure is complex in a way that you don't often see in video games. It uses a frame story to drop you in between present and past events. This immediately sets you up with some mystery and makes you want to move forward to understand your character's present circumstances. There's also an overarching plot that jumps between the frame story and eventually will overtake it. This is broken up further into episodes for each of the different palaces, and for each of those episodes you meet new characters, some of which are confidants, and the roughly 20 confidants each have their own personal storylines or social links, which are broken up into 10 parts. Then you have to consider the different ways each character is tied to each other, not to mention large amounts of world building and choices that can affect the outcomes of your personal relationships and the outcome of the game itself. That's a whole lot to hold together, and Persona 5 managed to do it. Games in the past have elevated the RPG and JRPG genre to different heights. Games like Final Fantasy VII brought a niche into the mainstream. The Witcher Wild Hunt showed us that side quests can be just as compelling as a main storyline. I think Persona 5 has shown us that the heights that JRPGs reached in the past are still attainable if you take the risks in investment and time. JRPGs were falling back into the niche they had come from, and Persona 5 has brought them screaming into the modern era, rivaling some of the best offerings of today. It isn't just the story that makes Persona great, though it is what made me fall in love with the game. It also has a cohesive aesthetic that permeates every inch of your experience. Visually and orally, it'll have you wondering what you'll experience next. But it isn't the tech that's stunning, it's the style and flair in every bit of the UI. It's the designs of the monsters and characters that are well thought out and executed. It seems like every moment has a different musical theme to go along with it. And since Persona has over 100 different tracks, it makes sense. That versatility allows them to punctuate moments in a very satisfying way. Plus, jamming out to some dope tunes makes a very long game seem much shorter. And Persona is very much a long game. If you're looking for value, then 75 plus hours just to get through the main storyline will give you that. It is a lot of time to invest, but worthwhile, and the calendar system allows you to spend your time in Persona in a multitude of ways. Social links are the game's relationship system, and one of my favorite aspects of Persona. Each day you'll have some time to portion out. School takes up mornings and afternoons, leaving you with 2 separate time periods in the daytime and the evening. In the daytime, you can interact with your party members and bring your relationship levels up, even taking them to the next level for a large portion of the female characters you meet. At night, there are various activities and a few other characters you can advance relationships with. These social links are a big part of where you see your characters grow, and their own personal stories take shape. It varies to fun and silly diversions to more serious moments. The combat system has some fun interactions in it as well. As you're fighting, you're looking for the enemy's weakness. If you find their weakness, you can stun them. And if you knock down all enemies, it leads to another section of combat called holding up. During this, you can either deliver a large portion of damage to them, or engage them in conversation. Conversation allows you to do things like pull out their persona, which gives your main character more abilities to work with, or you can take items and gold from them. It makes a lot of the battles that might normally seem tedious more worthwhile and engaging. Persona 5 doesn't have a lot of weaknesses, though there are small gripes here and there. There are portions of the graphics which didn't have high-res textures, possibly because this was a PS3 and PS4 release. But all the gripes I had were minor, and not worth mentioning. This is a game I highly recommend to anyone, and for me one of the best games of all time. I don't say that lightly, but I do believe it. I really hope that this is a sign to other RPG and JRPG developers of what can be done in the genre. This has been Why Should I Care Persona 5, and I'm Melchiorus from Game Clouds. Have a good night, friends.